Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Jouar, and today is Thursday, January 30th, 2025. And I've got the lovely TK Bay here with me. Hi, TK. How are you?
I'm exhausted. I'm tired. January just doesn't want to end, but I'm absolutely happy to see you again.
You know, it's true. It's been a little crazy. Last year, I feel like it just was a whirlwind. And this year seems to be like just picking up where it left off, just crazy busy.
It just wants to keep going. And the companies aren't getting the memo that like, hey, take a breaker, just breathe, take some time.
No, I agree with you. So, Here's the thing I want to remind the audience, because I think not everybody listens to the podcast till the end. There is a video version of this podcast. If you want to see TK and me this week, you should go to my Patreon, patreon.com/tankgirl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL, and subscribe. And you'll see there's a tier there for the video version. You get it in advance, generally about a day, 12 hours or so early. And you get to see us on video. You get extra content. Sometimes I go overtime. Sometimes you get bloopers. And you get to see us brandish phones like the ones we're going to talk about today. Some of them anyway. Also all kinds of other goodness. So please consider supporting me with Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL. Okay, so TK, you've been using the Galaxy S25 Ultra for about a week. So have I. And
just over a week. Yep. No, we just happy 1 week anniversary.
I want to kind of hear your thoughts. And also, we have other phones I want to talk to you about. That want to talk to you about a phone I don't have that you have, the Honor Magic 7 Pro.
Oh yeah. For the podcast, obviously here we do have it in here. It's a. Fantastic. I wish I had the white one, but we'll talk about the Honor Magic 7 Pro.
And then, of course, I want to talk about this Realme that I showed earlier, the Realme 14 Pro Plus, which is always one of my favorite, the numbered Pro Plus series from Realme for many reasons. So let's just quickly go over some of the Samsung news, simply because, last week, Narav was on the show, we covered everything we could cover the day of, right? Actually,
I can imagine, hot off the presses.
Yeah, it was the day we got briefed, so it was the day before. And there's a lot of things we didn't know and a lot of things we've discovered. How has your time with the S25 Ultra been?
Honestly, from the initial impressions when we got a hands-on, when we got a chance to see the devices first and touch them, play with them for that short, brief time before the unpack, I had an impression in my mind, like, not that much change. I was in that place where I was like, I feel like this is very much like a 24 Ultra with a minor change here and there and so on. And as I sat down and I started gathering my thoughts and I made the first video, just kind of recapping the specials and everything going on, I started realizing there's more to the story. And once you have the phone in your hand, you start using it. It felt different. Like the flat edges so first thing for me is it's lighter. The display is bigger, although I couldn't put my finger on it. It does feel like it's bigger, even though it's in the same spot. But the flat edges with the curved side, the corners on the side, actually does change the experience. It's giving me more S series. And I say S series, I mean like, before the Note or the Note became the S, we used to have an S series, which was a legitimate, standing on its own. And it was known for the curved edges. You were the phone that you would hold in your hand and it didn't feel like it was digging in. And I appreciated that. So from the feel overall, the device feels fresh. It's fast. Obviously, it's still brand new. Cameras have been performing quite well. I was able to customize it, set it up, transfer all my stuff rather quickly. So it's been a positive experience for me. I will say, though, if I have to kind of circle back, because coming off the 24 Ultra, I feel like this is really geared for, it's not geared for the 24 series. It's not geared for even, I think, like the 23 series. I feel like Samsung's really targeting the 22, the 21, and the 20.
Yeah.
For them, I feel like this is a massive jump forward, especially with all the functions that you're getting in here, especially the AI functionalities. We'll talk about that. But in general, just overall camera performance, there's almost no shutter lag on this device. Images come out pretty crisp. I like the AI eraser functionalities that they added. Obviously, not just specifically to them, but like the new Gemini interface that we're getting with the system here. We're starting to see on other devices. Like, my Oppo and some of the other phones are starting to get it. So far, it's been a positive experience. I'm finishing my thoughts to put together the review video. I know some people are starting to get their devices. So if any of the listeners pre-ordered, you may be getting a surprise email saying that your device is shipping or almost delivered. I saw some tweets saying that people got their hands on their 25 Ultras already. So Samsung is not waiting till the 7th when general availability is. They're just going to send them out now, which is nice.
I will link to videos about the phones we're talking about that you've done. You've got a couple of Galaxy videos, but I think the one that I felt was the most compelling is the one around the initial one you did around the pricing, best deals, etc. My audience will eat that up, especially here in North America. My thoughts quickly on the phone after a week was it has grown on me. Now I'm still not impressed with the hardware in terms of like specs, but that doesn't really mean too much today because phones are really, really solid no matter how you cut it, no matter whose phone you buy today. What I have to say is that the slightly rounded corner and the perfectly flat sides have really grown on me in terms of look and feel.
Yep.
I think that was the right call. I didn't feel that way initially, but now having used it, I feel that way. Of course, better ultra wide is a great thing.
Always appreciate
Good battery life, good performance. I'm still not a fan of One UI, but it's fine.
I changed the launcher. I don't even live in the One UI launcher. Actually, I'll be honest. I don't generally live in any launchers other than Nova Prime. So for me,
there is a benefit to the new launcher from One UI is that if you set it to sort alphabetically, it does vertical scrolling now.
Okay.
Hallelujah. That was the only reason I was running Nova on my S Ultras before. But anyway, so the point I'm making is that overall it's very satisfying. It's grown on me. It's a very solid phone. I can understand how people are going to love it, especially in this market. Still doesn't cut it to me compared to a Find X8 Pro or a OnePlus 13 or
Vivo X200
Vivo
Pro.
X200 Pro or all the Xiaomi, even Xiaomi 15. Like I think that if you don't have that experience here, if you're North America, this and you're Android, this and the OnePlus 13 and the Pixel 9 Pro XL, if you're looking at the best choice here that matches the Ultra, those are the phones to look at. But I have to say, I think Samsung's done a good job, despite it being very iterative. What I think, as you said, the big change, the big improvement, and the big what I think most of the reviews are going to focus on is software and AI, and mostly AI. And really, you can get this on Pixel now. You can get this on OnePlus 13, on Find X8 Pro too. This Gemini integration now, the multi-app stuff. And so there's very little here that's really new because the day after me and Narav did the podcast last week, on the briefing day, which was early in the week, we found out that, that stuff is now available for pretty much anything run Android 15. So
it was the exact same. I mean, we had the same experience last year. Remember, like when Circles of Search,
but it took a little longer. It was more like a few weeks last year, right?
I want to say Pixel was like right around the heel, but you're right. I mean, there are some things that we need to appreciate. That it's a collaborative effort between Samsung and Google, but it seems like Samsung has an agreement with Google to try to basically showcase it first, which I feel like it's always who introduces it and kind of gets the credit kind of in a way. But I think to a certain point, the AI eraser functionality this year is a little bit smarter than I actually I say this. It's the right level of smartness that I appreciate.
Right.
One of my biggest pain whenever I'm because I've done this quite some time now that we have good AI erasers, mind you, most of them are online, is the fact that you're able to almost erase anything, and the replacement or the drawing effect that goes behind that effect there have all been leveraging either Google tech or Oppo tech, OnePlus. All of them are really good, but they always forget the shadows. It's like the number one thing that always drives me crazy, especially in an environment when you're like in a well-lit situation. So you end up having to go back there and try to figure out how to do it. Samsung did it correctly. The AI function not only recognizes the subject, but it recognizes the corresponding shadow, erasing the whole thing. And I've tested it with like multiple images just to see if I can like mess it up. Absolutely not. It does it right every single time. And I can't wait for other companies to have that feature, because that's the right way of doing it. So I feel like you're right. General AI stuff is, for the most part, you're going to see similar flavors of the same thing. But I feel Samsung's doing really good in that. I think the AI select functionality that they have is very nice and intuitive. Like it jumps at you. You could pick things and start working with it. A little bit different than Circle to Search. I didn't even know that Circle to Search did music till Unpacked. Like that
Oh
was a
yeah,
big.
that's they announced it.
It was in there. Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
I meant to say like to see it, or even like using Gemini to like when if you launch Gemini and let's say you're in a menu or so on, you're able to snap an image and ask Gemini, what am I looking at? Like that function is now built in. Like there's integration very well. Oh, and then the last thing that I really like, you're able to go into the settings within One UI 7 and naturally ask for a function. Like, how do I change the display to night mode? You're not
Right.
asking it to like find night vision, night bloom, whatever. It takes you straight to the menu. Like it makes things a little more accessible. I feel like those little things are like nice things to have. I'm worried about when we get to the point where we have to pay for all of these because we don't know how things are going to be at the end of the year, but that's a conversation for a different time.
Exactly. In case you're wondering, folks, I am wearing my favorite hoodie, the OnePlus Never Settle hoodie that I got at MWC 2 years ago in Barcelona. And it is very warm because I'm in Vancouver, Canada right now, where it is very cold. It is freezing roughly. We're going to get snow this weekend. In case you're
Nice.
wondering, too, normally I sit over here at this chair facing this window, which overlooks the bay and the ocean. And
Mhm.
because it's evening, I was like, there's no point in putting up my laptop and mic over there. I can just record on my iMac right here. And there's some nice lights on the sides. So, that's for the video people who are watching right now. And while TK was talking, I give you a nice little tour of the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Look, this phone is solid, but it wouldn't be my first choice, not because it's bad, but because these AI and software features are now pretty much everywhere, and because I want to push the envelope in terms of specs. And I feel that Samsung is not doing that. But at the same time, this does not mean it's a bad phone. It's also an expensive phone. If you look at what the OnePlus 13 and the Pixel 9 Pro XL are bringing to the table for their price point, I think Samsung's premium is a bit much to ask, especially when the stylus, the S Pen, does less because it doesn't have Bluetooth. And, we talked about that last week. There was this moment where we thought that Samsung was going to have a second pen you could buy, and it turned out to be completely false, which is incredible to me that they had a blog post about it.
And then they
To
pulled it.
me, it doesn't matter. I don't use the S Pen, but I understand for those of you how frustrating it must be to not have that functionality. And I don't understand like this for $1,300, I think it's ridiculous that they didn't spend the money on a Bluetooth radio on this. So,
and the pen is technically a little bit bigger than last year's pen, which is a weird experience to see. Like, you would have assumed that things maybe get shrunk down because you took things out of it. But I mean, look, if we have to compare to the market as it is in the US right now, this is one of the top choices you have. You absolutely, like you said, top three, absolutely hands down. Is it the most expensive out of the three? Yes. But I also feel like it's kind of like a style of functionality. I'll say this personally because my wife loves her S23 series. She's on S23 Ultra. She was on an S21 and even S20, and she will only upgrade from a Samsung to a Samsung. She likes Samsung regardless. And I feel like for those users that are fans of the ecosystem and they're basic, I'm not going to call it like hardcore, but like very much fans, and this is what they like, and they like the color science that Samsung provides. I feel like it's a natural progression from anybody from like 2 generations of a device, because I feel like you said, at the 23 and the 24, the minor upgrades on the hardware are there. I think the SoC, as powerful as it is, we're not tapping into all of that power.
No.
We're getting Lamborghini, but we're not using the Autobahn.
Benchmarks are a bit mixed too in terms of, is it really that much faster than a regular 8 Elite? If you're one of those people that really cares about that stuff, I get it, but I think this is irrelevant, frankly. Even the Dimensity 9400 is a solid choice on the
absolutely.
X series. So, look, I think it's great. I like that some of the AI features, especially the photo editing, is on device now. It's great. You don't have to worry about an internet connection, et cetera. So there's lots of good stuff in there. I think that some of the customizations that, as you said, the fine settings using AI by just asking a simple question is really nice. It's going to help a lot of users. I do want to move on to a phone that I do not have, and it's the Honor Magic 7 Pro. You've had it for weeks.
Oh, I've had it for...
Can you give us a verdict? Can you give us a rundown on what makes this phone so compelling to TK Bay?
So Honor for me has been a company that I've always appreciated because Honor always kind of in the past used to give us the massive bang for the buck. And it was always, the underdog. It was an online brand. Now it's moving to being more and they're on their own and they're doing a lot of great work. The Magic series, or specifically the Magic, like the number series, the Pro, the Magic 7, the Magic 6 and 5, these are their flagships. These are literally their best of the best that they offer us. And they don't skimp on the features that they give you there. This year, they took it to the next level in, again, some of it is obviously iterative. We've seen this, that this is as yearly upgrades are going through. But again, they're targeting earlier generation, Magic 7 series devices. I took mine with me on a vacation to Japan with the family, and I appreciated all of the capabilities that it was able to do. The telephoto lens, the main camera, the front-facing camera, the screen unlock, the audio experience. A lot of the things that they've put in here with the work that they've done, just again gives us the best experience that Honor has to offer. I did have to wait till beginning of January as well to pick the update for the new Zoom functionalities that they were advertising.
Right.
That took a little bit later, but in general, the phone is a solid phone. Again, running the latest SoC, Snapdragon 8 Elite. We have the Magic Desktop experience, both wired and wireless. I think in general, from a smartphone, if you're a fan of Honor and what Honor stands for, especially with the UI elements that they offer, it's not going to disappoint. The cameras are solid, and it's a natural progression. It's hard for me to pinpoint on one specific thing that will make it maybe beat something else. It just stands on its own so well. And the cameras just always I showed it in my videos, and there was a lot of beautiful images in Osaka, in Kyoto, and in Tokyo when we were there. Nighttime photography is really good, and the front-facing camera is really clean. It's crisp, clean. It's truly like main sensor on the back type of experience for me.
Right.
So in general, I would say if it just depends if you're a fan of the image processing that Honor does, and that's going to be kind of like, for me, a camera now defines what a device is supposed to be. It's not going to disappoint when it comes down to performance. Battery lasts forever, almost 6,000 milliampere there, fast charging. I wish there was a charger in the box. That was my only if I had to kind of point a finger to something, because not everybody has proprietary Honor chargers.
Right.
And they don't, you know what I mean? And they don't use standard chargers. So when you want to get 80 wireless and 100 wired, you do need to have those chargers. And unfortunately, the boxes are skinny, which I feel like I appreciate, for everybody looking at it. Here's right there. But we're year over year, we're losing these chargers. We're getting, special tech. So congratulations to Honor on another magical device. Honestly, I wasn't able to go to the launch event,
Hence
but
the name.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. I can't find one thing to say about the actual device that would concern me. It runs the latest software, has enough RAM, storage, everything that you need to do it. Gaming, really nice. The slightly curved edges are beautiful.
Mhm.
It is a flat side, so you had that flat plus curve experience.
Yeah.
But I think in general, it delivers on what Honor promises us. It's just the best of what they have. And you can push the device here a little bit more than, let's say, in Samsung, because they don't manage the profile manager, the governor that they have on there. They don't run it at medium. They run it basically, you have performance mode if you want to be able to push it. So I appreciate that.
Cool. For me, the big question with Honor always, and I borrowed the V3, Magic V3 from Nick, and I had it for a while, and I love that phone. It's great. My question, though, is how is the software? Because the software has always been a bit of a kind of a meh thing for me on Honor. It's feels like, EMUI was I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago when
it's still for better or worse, it's still technically EMUI for me. It feels like EMUI / Magic UI. They're very much the same. Like if I pick up an Honor, if I pick up a Huawei, I still feel like I'm in the same ecosystem.
But it feels old to me. It feels like it needs a refresh. It feels like it's not. Yeah.
I'll say this. I think the biggest change that they've done within the last few years on Magic UI was not on Magic UI 7, it was on Magic UI 6. And that was when they allowed us to finally have swipe down to notification as opposed to having global search turned on by default.
Right.
I think that was my biggest appreciation day for with the UI. To me, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought, because at the end of the day, which is the weird part about it, I always love to install Nova. So it takes away the. There's a few systems that I like to stay in when I'm able to customize them to the level that Nova allows me to do, and that's usually when, like with Samsung with One UI, when GoodLog has the module Home Up, I will live in a One UI home screen because I can customize it a little bit more, and I
Right.
appreciate it. Honor lets you install third-party launchers, so for me, that's what I've been using. So overall, I didn't really have a lot of concerns. And as a third-party launcher, it was running pretty well, which tells me again, Honor's optimizations are really nice. So as far as what they have with Magic UI, and I know friends that like it. Some people don't. Some people feel like you said, I'm in the middle kind of situation.
Yeah.
They're due for an overhaul, so maybe we'll see that in the near future. But it is, I mean, quite robust customization wise. Always on display, functional options, and all of that. They're trying their best to improve it, but it still feels like we've been looking at the same thing for a few years now.
All right. So, final question. If I'm
Yes,
in
sir.
Europe and I can buy the Honor and I can buy the Find X8 series, and I can
Okay.
find the OnePlus 13, I can get the, I don't know, like some other phone like the Vivo, maybe.
Okay. Oh, the X200 Pro. Yeah, that's where the market is.
Why should I buy the Honor? Like, what would make you go like, like with Samsung, it's the S Pen, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Pixel, it's the Pixel software. With, OnePlus, it's the fact that it's in Oppo available in North America, fully supported.
Absolutely.
With that awesome experience, right? The never settle.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it with Honor? Like the portrait modes? Because obviously they go on about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, tell me what the audience should know and why they should pick that phone.
Okay. So what Honor provides us right now in the markets that they're available in, at least on their flagship side, obviously the experience changes differently depending on where you are. I'll say the fact that we have an all-around supremely well-balanced camera experience. The color science between the lenses are very nice. The zooming effect is actually very smooth between lenses when you're shooting video. The other thing I also appreciate always with Honor is it's one of the few companies that still offer us a desktop mode. The ability of connecting either wirelessly to a display like a TV that supports Miracast, or even better, if you have one of those glasses, the display glasses like the X-Real or the Rockets, and you plug that sucker in there and turn on Magic UI desktop mode, and you just now maybe have a desktop laptop experience on your phone privately on, in a plane, in a car, wherever you are. So those are things that are very unique to Honor that I think only Samsung can probably mimic because they have a desktop mode as well.
Yeah.
And of course Motorola, but depends on the Motorola that you're getting. In Europe, they do have the flagship, so that should be available. But I feel like their desktop mode, again, leveraging Huawei's desktop mode from what it was to be in the past, is one of the most advanced ones on the market. Between Samsung and Honor, those are the two best ones. Unfortunately, LG kind of bowed out, and Android desktop is nowhere to be found, or at least nowhere to be functional, kind of.
Yeah.
So for those features, I would probably say, powerhouse features, best of the best as far as processor, latest camera stack, latest version of Android, and of course, AI functionalities, as you can expect, as everybody's having that. But to add the desktop mode, I feel like that's what differentiates it for me. It's really it works much better as a business tool because, again, you're in a hotel and you want to be able to watch your pictures, you Miracast your phone to the display, use your touchpad on the display, and suddenly you have a laptop that you didn't even bring with you, but it sits on your phone. So it's one of those little unique things that make them stand apart.
I think that's awesome.
Color science, of course.
Cool. Well, there you go. I, asking because with the Magic V3, it was obvious. The thinnest folding phone, the hardware is absolutely outstanding. Like, I mean, this is
down. Like, I did not understand how they made that, how sturdy the hinge was on that device with how thin it is. Like,
it's insane.
Like, I feel like all we're holding is hinges. We're not holding the phone. It's just hinges. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about another phone that's coming soon. I just realized that in my topics, I had a couple more Samsung items I want to just briefly bring up for the audience. There are some rumors about the camera specs for that S25 Edge that they revealed last minute. And it looks like the main sensor will be a 200 megapixel, and then there's going to be a little 12 megapixel ultra wide, which is the same one that you see on the S25 and S25 Plus. And frankly, I'm actually happy with that. I think this is the the 200 megapixels is going to let you zoom in to like maybe 5-10x with between AI processing and pixel binning and stuff with the 200 megapixel sensor. So
sensor cropping on that is going to be the most amazing piece.
Because
even if you're still going to get crystal clear images for sure.
I think that's going to be good. So that's a rumor. So stay tuned. Obviously, the Edge is coming out sometime in April. So we'll probably that's what the speculations are.
I'm just hoping MWC shows us a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think Samsung has anything in store. I'm heading there. I haven't heard anything from them. So I don't know. Maybe they just haven't reached out to me. But so the interesting thing I think here is, compared to the iPhone 17 Air, which is supposed to have a single camera, it's kind of interesting to see how they're going to do that on the iPhone. My theory is it's also going to be a very large sensor pixel-wise, like 200 or 108 or something. And then they're going to start at 0.6 with the optics. You know what I'm saying? So you'll be able to progressively zoom in. But and that makes it one lens that you put autofocus and OIS on it. But Samsung's like, okay, let's do what we know how to do, right? Which in their case is we've done a 200 megapixels on the Ultra. It's the main sensor. We leverage it for sensor fusion with a telephoto. Let's take the 12 megapixel that's tried and true from all the other phones we make. And I think that's a very, very reasonable compromise if you're going to make a phone super thin. Right?
My hope is that it does materialize. I'm still on edge, for no pun intended, on trying to learn what the like it's a thin phone. I like the design when we saw the reel at the.
It looks really cool, honestly. I like the crazy camera bump. To me, that's like, I know that it's over the top, but that's the whole
absolutely
point.
Yeah.
Like, if you're making a phone that thin, what's interesting about the phone, right?
It's giving Vivo vibes, Vivo and Oppo vibes, and Xiaomi vibes, where the phone is super thin, and then you get to the camera, like, kind
of like the original Moto Z was, 5 millimeter thick, and then the camera bump was almost 5 millimeter itself.
You get that bump there.
No, I think it's very, very cool. And then the other bit of news, and again, this is, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it. Marquez MKBHD made a very, very thorough video about Project Mohan, which is the XR glasses that are kind of competing with Vision Pro from Samsung and Google. And of course, these were shown
Samsung,
at the event.
Samsung/Google Vision Pro, right? That's exactly right.
We saw them at the event.
They had the glasses, you're right.
We
couldn't touch them.
Obviously, there was just behind like hidden, no touchy kind of thing. So if you want to kind of get a preview of what the experience is going to be like, watch this video. I think it's very compelling. I'm still not, as you know, I'm not an XR fan. I like the idea of like these glasses becoming an AR product that I can maybe cover up to become a VR product. That's my version of XR. I don't want an actual headset, but I think this is too early right now. We still need a headset. And in that sense, what Marquez showed in his video is very interesting and compelling. And
Absolutely.
I'm wearing my old glasses, by the way, completely no reason for that. Just I hadn't worn them in a while. And I was like, that would be fun. Also, they're bigger, so these could become AR glasses better. But I'm actually more curious to see what Google and Samsung put together in terms of pure AR, like something like X-Real on steroids, or those G1 glasses. But I'd want, or like a hybrid, with Meta Ray-Bans, where I still would want a camera on there for content capture.
Yeah,
right?
And Google does have their own projects that they're working on. This feels like Google Cardboard and what's it called, the old Samsung Gear VR.
Gear VR,
yeah, married each other and had a Vision Pro baby, Vision Pro looking baby.
That's right.
And I think overall, from what Marquez was able to show, I'm very excited for that. I am hoping the price point is right, and that it is. That it keeps getting better, and that they don't, it's not a project that we all fall in love and then we suddenly send, back up, and then suddenly, poof, it's not there. So that's my hope. But again, it's early. We'll have to see how they kind of put it together. But it's exciting that it exists.
No, I really encourage you to watch the video. Like I don't really have much to say other than it's very interesting, and I feel like it's just as, if not more compelling than what Vision Pro is doing. And judging by the fact that this does not have a display embedded in the front of the device, I'm expecting the price to be much more reasonable.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be, because of that, a more successful product, especially for those of you out there. I know there are many, like I'm not that person, but there are people out there who love their VR headsets right now, have a Quest 3 or whatever, and play games and do things and work out. And kudos to you. It's not my thing, but I feel like this is going to be a whole different dimension where we can run our Android apps in Windows,
Absolutely.
like start doing some productivity stuff. Very excited about what I saw in that video.
Same.
Let's talk about this awesome Realme phone, because I think this is kind of like the one that nobody talks about every year. I mean, you and I talk about it. Like us nerds, camera people talk about it. Imagine if you could get Find X8 cameras, not the Pro, not the OnePlus 13, but the Find X8 for $350 to $400.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, a color changing back depending on the temperature, which is gimmicky but cute and cool.
Well, even if you take that out, it's the same material as the Find X8 Pro. And the
so is it glass? Is it actual glass?
I think so. So just for reference, because this is we never got the OnePlus 13 in white. Render cache has crashed. Okay,
it's buggy.
Let me see if I can get this case off.
Check out this surface here, folks. I'm showing it on video. Like, it's kind of this crazy marbly, and it's all white right now because if I go outside, it'll be blue.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're going to be able to get it to go blue because it's cold enough for you guys to get that color there. But it's also supposed to be unique. Every device that has that backing, it's the same thing as well.
Yeah.
We, like, you and I both have the phone, but we both don't have the same pattern. But
correct.
So here's what I mean from my standpoint.
Oh yeah. Wait, it's not focusing.
On my side.
For some reason, you're not focused. You're not focused. It needs your face. Spread them apart a little bit more, not too much. A little bit like that. Oh no. There we go.
On my side, I'm able to get it to cover my face and focus.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Okay. That's kind of well. Hold on. Maybe I could do this because I can always turn on my top-down camera and just do it, video style.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Can you switch cameras though?
Of course, my dear.
Look at that. Oh, yeah.
So here, we get both the Realme and the Oppo, and you can see the materials similar. Obviously, we have the color changing effect here, which is a little bit different, but they're very much like they look like they literally just... I love the fact they could just copy that, right? They could be like, hey Oppo, can we just take that design? Like, please?
Yeah.
So you get that color effect, obviously, and this one turns, we get blue tones that turn on as it gets colder.
Turn on the screen and show, because I won't be able to do it as well as you, that this is a flat screen with the 2.5D edges like we saw on the Realme GT7 Pro, the OnePlus 13.
You get that curved edges, right? Exactly.
Oppo Find X8 Pro. So that's beautiful, pretty cool, right?
Super fast, just overall like beautiful display. And it just absolutely, like, you get that curvature ever so nice so that you don't have that edge to hurt with.
Yeah.
Now, it isn't flat edges. It is curved edges all around.
It's curved all over, yeah.
But you got the IR blaster at the top, the bottom, beautiful bottom, just the display itself is just absolutely gorgeous.
This is why I like to have TK on the show. For those of you who are watching on video right now, like, you're getting a total treat because of the overhead cam. Mm-hmm. Overhead cam.
It's like I've done these things before. No, I've always had my system set up to do for recording, and I also have it connected to the laptop to do streaming. So beautifully, and it's a large display, great cameras, and again, the good processing overall. Like, it's obviously not a flagship, but it's a mid-range processing and very, very budget friendly.
So let's talk about it. Bring your face back for a sec. Yeah. The cool thing about this phone, and every year it's the same story. It's the numbered Pro and numbered Pro Plus from Realme. Every year you're getting essentially a top-of-the-line camera phone in a almost budget, mid-range-ish price point. And to do that, they don't generally sacrifice the screen too much. Now, this is not the same... It's not as bright as the flagships, but it is a good 120 hertz, 1080p OLED, and it's flat this year, which is great. And more importantly, what's cool about this phone is the camera system. You still get a big battery, you still get fast charging, you still get a decent mid-range processor. It's not like, killer, but it's not bad. So I think in that sense, it's a pretty decent mid-range, just like budget phone.
Mhm.
But also you get these cameras, and I'm just bringing up the specs right now because it's like, wow, this thing is amazing. 14 Pro Plus.
5G.
Yeah.
I always have to
GSM Arena for the win. We want to give them love, GSM Arena. Okay, so here we go. Now, get this. Here are the cameras. 50 megapixel f of 1.8, phase detect autofocus OIS, 1 micron pixels. That sounds like the same main sensor as the Oppo Find X8 on Pro.
Yeah.
50 megapixel f of a 2.7, pretty impressive. 3x telephoto, 0.8 micron pixels, phase detect autofocus OIS. And this is the tri-prism system that we saw on the other phones, but with a smaller sensor. So I think it's roughly the same as Find X8 non-Pro. And then the only place where they kind of cut a corner is it's the generic Realme BBK group 8 megapixel f over 2.2, ultra wide, right? But that's fine, like for that price. And I think you're not getting the same image processing quite. No. You're not getting that AI and that burst mode, crystal clear, whatever, crisp, stuff. But I've taken a few photos, and honestly, it's pretty damn good. It's not like, it's nice to have a real 3x telephoto with real OIS. Not like the OnePlus 13R, we put a 2x telephoto without OIS in there, and it's good for portraits, but not really for anything else.
The R series it's definitely the main sensor living experience type of a solution.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, thank God the 2 megapixel sticker cams are going away and we're actually getting real cameras now.
I'm just happy they finally listened to all of so many years of us like, please take off the sticker cam.
I know.
Please.
I know.
Yeah, just put a sticker.
But that being said, can we go to 3x telephotos with OIS if we're going to go to telephoto so we can actually get serious here? And maybe 50 megapixel makes it also that you can, do in sensor crop and get the 2x, so you get 6x, and then on the main sensor you get the 2x, so you actually get like almost lossless 2x. Absolutely. And then you get this nice up to 5-6x or so, you get really good photos. And I think for $350 to $400,
it's hard to beat this phone. And I remember I forget. So like in general, I don't really see a lot of Realme devices in general, but last year during one of my trips, surprisingly, with Realme to Bangkok to cover some of their AI. It was an AI summit for them. I saw quite a bit of people. I saw a lot of people using Realme, we were talking about the Realme 13s, the Realme 12s, with the beautiful. And back then they were also doing the faux leather, the vegan leather covering in there. They always tried to give you a great visual experience on the phone from the outside, and it is tailored to fit into that budget. But because Realme is, I feel like the flagship killer, truly, like if you had to kind of embody what Realme stands for, because it's somewhere between Oppo and OnePlus, right? OnePlus is established. It's their own brand. They're brick and mortar. They're available online everywhere. Oppo is the premium version, and Realme is the middle child that gets the benefit from everybody. It's like, hey, I'll
kind of feel like Realme is the new OnePlus in many ways.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like like you look at these specs, like 6,000 milliamp hour battery, 80-watt charging, Snapdragon 7S Gen 3.
Yeah.
You get up to 12 gigs of RAM, up to 512 gigs of storage. They're not messing about. This is actually, I was wrong. This is not a 1080p panel. This is a 1220p panel, 1272 technically. So wow, they didn't even skimp on resolution here. This is pretty amazing for this price point. Think of course, there's OnePlus 13R, which is a bit more than that. But then you have things like the Pixel 8a and the upcoming 9a. They're going to be as good camera-wise, but they won't have a telephoto. So, it's trickery more than optics. And then you're not going to get the fast charging, the large battery.
Nope.
And I'm sorry, but Tensor, okay, maybe... Tensor G, what is it? G3 on the 8A? On the 8A, it's G3. On the 9A, it's going to be G4.
Yeah, we need to go to the G5.
G3, I believe, is probably about the same as the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, or maybe a little better. But we're not talking about we're not talking anything close to an 8 Elite here, okay? So,
No. And this is also I would say the most cost-effective version of the 7 series.
yeah.
So the 7 Gen 3 is the legit powerhouse of the 7 series. 7S is the one slightly slower. I don't know. I sadly to say that the S stands for that, but essentially it's the again, I always love to say this. Whenever you get a device that has these type of combinations and you're seeing the benefits so on, you always have to understand there's some tailoring that has to be done to bring the price down to a certain point. The SoC is actually one of the most expensive components of a device. A lot of us don't realize that. Like, going to an Elite or going to a
It's
9400.
$190 for an 8 Elite,
You know what I
folks.
mean? Like but when you factor into, let's say, $1,000 phone from like OnePlus, that's literally 20% of the budget on that phone is into the SoC, where Realme can come in and say, look, we'll go with a 7S Gen 3 here. We're going to compromise maybe on the ultra wide in there, but still give you great main camera and telephoto. So again, I feel like they do the right experience on the Pro Plus. And of course, it can kind of steps down as you go down into the standard Pro and then the standard 14. But I think it's a compelling story, and I feel like it's always appreciated. And it supports bands, at least in my area on T-Mobile. We're
Yeah,
able to
it
pick up,
works fine.
T-Mobile
Yeah,
5G works perfectly.
same. And I'm also using it here on TELUS in Canada. It's just fine.
Yeah.
I'll link to your video, TK.
Appreciate
It's pretty complete. So
Mhm.
folks, check that out. Also link to TK's video on the Honor and on the Galaxy so far. Maybe your review will come out by the time I publish.
I've done a few videos on Samsung.
Yeah, you've got a couple right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you've got your review coming. That's why I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
Folks, we've got a bunch of news I want to go through. There's a couple of things about Nothing we should talk about for sure. The phone 3A has leaked in detail.
Yeah, I know.
And so maybe a 3A Pro as well. There's one that looks like it has 3 cameras. That might be the 3A Pro. So just keep in mind that's happening soon. The date for this launch is at MWC March 4.
Yep.
So that's actually pretty exciting.
It's a
I'll
month
be
away.
there.
Little
I'll
over
cover
a month.
it.
Yeah, little over a month.
Stay tuned for that. I'll be in Barcelona covering all the goodness on the podcast there. So I'm very excited about this Nothing stuff because it's been a while since I've had my hands on a Nothing phone.
They're doing some some new good things as well with AI and how they're incorporating AI to their launchers.
I love their software too. It's really good.
Absolutely.
We forgot to talk about the other BBK group thing, which was all those rumors that have been coming. Like I didn't cover anything but Samsung last week, so I kind of skipped a week of news. We've had an avalanche of news about the Oppo N5, the Fine N5, essentially the Open 2, right? The OnePlus Open 2. And so here we are now with another teaser. There's been a few. The first teaser was it's thinner than a pencil. Then the second teaser is next to an iPhone 16 Pro. And then now it's next to an iPad Pro M4. And as you know, that's a very thin iPad. Is like 5.4 or something, or 5 millimeters. And this is supposedly 4 millimeters. It's supposedly thinner than the Magic V3. What are your thoughts on that, TK?
Okay, so half of me or part of me is super excited for new tech. I want to see how they're able to do it. I'll say this: big fan of the Open. I have the N3 and
the Open.
Absolutely, it's an amazing device. One of my favorite foldables to date. I'll say that closely. I would say closely, contending with the V3. I think overall, I don't doubt that the camera experience, the UI elements, all of them are going to be beautiful because they've proven this. Oppo's been doing the N series for many years. Obviously OnePlus has only done it for once because they jumped on with 3. But the reality is, it's going to come down to ingenuity. It's going to come down to mechanics, what they're able to do with the batteries, and of course the camera sensors. Because what we're looking at obviously is very similar to what we saw with the Open, which was a flat experience on the back, and then you get the cameras that kind of bump up at the back. But they gave us legit smartphone flagship experience cameras. They did not go the route of we'll give you one great camera sensor like with the Z Folds, what we see typically in the past. And I think what I appreciate because I was trying to do in the beginning of this, hopefully be able to show you guys, is the fact that here, the phone
the overhead cam is back, folks.
So we're already talking crazy thin device technology. We're talking super sharp very nice, even when it's closed, and you get that flat experience with the bump on the back. So we're going to see something similar to that, but it's going to be even thinner than this. Because this, the way at least we saw, let's get it to focus on the top. Come on, stay with me. This is where an overhead, and we're trying to do really thin devices. Like you could see, they're shaving spaces away from that. They're going to make it even thinner. I don't know how I can keep this thing focused. Sorry. Here, you could see it there. They're shaving space from that to make it as thin as the USB-C port.
Yeah, it's insane. Like,
And we know it's possible, but we haven't seen that from Oppo before. So anxious, excited, a whole bunch of different feelings. And the fact of the matter is, again, it's all going to be around MWC. So timing is of the essence. It seems like February is going to be, I don't know, want to call it Fectober. That just doesn't sound right. But you know what I mean? Like it's just
Febtober.
Febtober.
Oh God. We are going down the rabbit hole of insanity here.
It is MWC though, so I feel like at least they're doing it around the right convention, right? Like it's not like all around one.
This is fantastic.
CES.
Couple of things to know. I will try to put links as well for this. There are a couple of other things you should be aware of. Now, I'm speculating, but I'm pretty sure we'll see the tri-prism telephoto this time again because it's thinner, takes up less space. The other thing is very strongly rumored because it actually exists on Snapdragon Qualcomm's website. There's an 8 Elite with 7 cores instead of 8 cores that's optimized for thin phones. Okay. And it's probably going to power the S25 Edge. It's probably going to power the OnePlus Open 2 and the Oppo Find N5. That's the latest rumors. The chip actually exists. Qualcomm has confirmed it, but it's on their website. But the phones obviously were speculating, but apparently putting the full-on 8 Elite on that thin of a phone makes thermals troublesome. So they took a core out, and apparently that seems to help. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to matter too much. We might lose like 7% performance or something. Who cares, right?
We're already running Lamborghini speeds on auto,
I know, right?
Without an Autobahn.
So that's exciting to me. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we talked about Pixel 9a earlier, and now we actually have an idea. This is a leak of the launch date, March 19th. So as soon as we get back from a Mobile Congress South by Southwest, if you are going to Texas, to Austin for that, you're going to get a Pixel 9a. Now, we know what it's going to look like. The leaks have been all over the place.
Absolutely.
The visor's kind of gone, which is a bit weird. I think that it's fine that it's flat to me, but it would have been nice if they had the outline of the visor somehow or a different color.
It's a look that they've been building, and they're trying to make it into like a recognizable icon. When you see that visor, you know it's a Pixel kind of a thing. But I think I'm also kind of a little bit surprised that it's coming away from Google I/O. So it's going to be a little bit weirder. So we'll have to see how that kind of becomes. Maybe Google doesn't want to have hardware launches coming around.
No, I don't think I/O has really been their preferred place to launch hardware. It just happened a couple of times, and I think it was just incidental. I think that's not their thing, right? And because it's a nightmare in terms of logistics for them, right? They have to either bring the device to the media to show them for hands-on, and then ship us the devices or give them to us on site, and it becomes just more unmanageable for them. And Google's not that big about these events and things for hardware. They just want to ship you the phone when it's kind of like ready under embargo. If you're a big fry, we'll probably get ours like as you guys can buy them in the stores.
But they also do a really good job of the day of availability. It'll be like at Best Buy. You can
that's great. And
the 9 series, at least, they're always
look, I'm sure the 9A is going to be just fine. Tensor.
Absolutely.
It's going to have Tensor G4. It's going to have pretty much the same specs as last year's.
I will say the rumored pricing is starting to concern me a little bit.
It's gone up.
We'll have to. But I always remember though that it's sad to say, but it never stays at that price. Like that maybe the launch price.
Well, Samsung kept their prices, which was nice. But you're right. Like, look, the reality is, I still would love to see a $399 Pixel.
Yeah, I would love it to stay around that $499, $500 price point.
Yeah,
because I feel like that was a big. It was one of the big features of what you got with the A series is you knew you were getting that flagship experience, slightly modified, but in a smaller body. You're getting some of those benefits, but you also didn't break the bank. Jumping into $600, I feel like we're edging every year closer to what the 7, like it's starting to make the
So
basic version of the series, like the 8 or the 9, a
this
challenge.
article
Yeah.
actually says the price is going to be the same for the 128 gig version.
Oh, okay.
The 256 gig is going to go up $40.
Okay.
And then the Verizon adds 50 to that. So
Well, that's more for UW stuff and thing. Yeah, I know. Typical.
that's not bad, honestly. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely looking forward to that. The Pixel A series is always one of my favorites. It's funny, as a Pixel user, I've got the best Pixels, and then sometimes I just pull out the 8A in this case right now, and I'm like, I could totally live with this phone. 100%. Like, if I could not afford anything else in the world, this is the phone in this market where I live and spend my time, North America. This is the phone that absolutely I would buy in a heartbeat. It's that good. And yes, you're cutting corners. Of course you are. But think, it still has wireless charging, still has a metal frame, right? Like, there are so many things about this phone. Yeah, the charging speeds are crap. Like 25, 18, whatever watt charging last year.
That's literally the my only pain point whenever I switch to devices that don't support like 60, 80 or 100
look at
watts.
this. $350, $400, Realme 14 Pro Plus, 80-watt charging, 6,000 milliamp hour silicon carbon battery. Come on. Like, if you can get that here, like, I'm sorry, Samsung has no excuses for 5,000 milliamp hour on the S25 Ultra. Okay?
Samsung needs to move away from the Note 7.
They're freaked out.
Get over that nightmare.
They're traumatized.
I know.
PTSD.
And every time, yeah.
I wish them luck.
Exactly.
They need a therapist. All right, let's see what else we got here. Well, we did a few little items. iPhone SE4 has leaked, and it looks really good.
I feel like it looks like an iPhone 8, like it's 7 and iPhone 8.
But it's flat-sided, so basically it looks like a 16 would today, but with one camera.
Which, I mean, again, for the price point that it's supposed to come through, I mean, the SE series has always been intriguing for me because it's always been the petite version of their devices for the last two generations.
Yeah.
But we're going back into the whole, it's not even at the standard, the 12, it's not the mini sizes. I think from what they're rumoring, it looks like it's closer to a standard iPhone. So we're going, I mean, again, it's a compelling story, hopefully more affordable, and we'll have to see how they kind of tease it. But yeah, I'm getting iPhone 7, iPhone 6, vibes from it with flat edges. So interesting.
I like the simplicity of it, and it just falls perfectly into the design language of Apple. And I like that the sides are not shiny. I like that it's just super basic, and also that the pricing, looks like it's going to stay around 500. It's going to have an A18 chip and run Apple Intelligence, so it means more RAM. It's going to have USB-C, and it's going to have the not the dynamic island, but it's got to have the old notch
on the
top.
Yeah.
So it's still an OLED though, which is a huge improvement. I mean, other than the single camera, which is a bit of a bummer, I think the rest of the specs are like massive improvement over last.
I'm sure we're going to get 4K 60 out of that single camera, and it's going to be beautiful.
No,
4K
it's going
60.
it's going to be joy. I'm honestly thinking I might buy one of these because. Here's the thing. I shoot all my video on iPhone, and I've got a 16 Pro right now. I went from the XL 15 Pro last year and I got suckered by Apple because I bought it because of the camera. I want to try camera control and the button, and I feel like I'm never using it. And the smaller size was a good call because Theo does a lot of my video work, and they like the smaller, lighter phone. They're generally my camera person, and they're shooting for me. But for me, there are a number of issues. The first one is it's really expensive. It's complete overkill for what I need, right? But number two is when they went to those big sensor main cameras, I can no longer do close-ups. Like I used to, when I shoot,
you have to stand back a little bit more.
I literally get the phone this close to the camera to get macro shots, and you cannot do that on any of the new sensors. You can on the ultra wide though, which is interesting. So I shoot on the ultra wide and I crop 4K and I crop to 1080p, right? And that works just fine. But that's kind of a waste. I'd rather shoot at 4K on the main sensor. If this is a just the old 48 or the old 12 even megapixel sensor, it might not have a beautiful depth of field for real photography, but for video, for my needs, if it can focus up close, I might just buy that simply because that's all I need for my kind of video work.
I'm with you.
You know, it's such a hassle to be shooting ultra wide at 4K and cropping to 1080 right now. Like, I'm just like, no, I mean, I went from an iPhone 12, right, to the 15 Pro Max, and I thought, oh, great, and then I tried shooting a video with my normal setup, and I couldn't get any close-up focus. I'm like, what have I done? I've screwed myself over. So I adapted by using the ultra wide, but then it's a 12 megapixel ultra wide on the 15. So I went to the 16 Pro as well for the 48 megapixel. Now I actually get, even though I'm cropping, I'm getting better quality, better pixels, better better light, better
source. Better source to be able to.
The reason I'm gung ho about this is because I like the looks, but I think that this is a very important phone for Apple. Theo uses an SE3 as their main phone. They have a Moto Razr Plus as their Canadian phone, flip phone for Android. So 2 countries, 2 phones, I have a Pixel as my main phone, US phone, but as my Canadian, I swap SIMs constantly because I don't really use it for phone calls and
because
texts.
You can. I'll say that. I do want to emphasize. You can switch SIMs on an iPhone in Canada.
Well, that's right. My iPhone in Canada has SIM slot, and it'd be interesting to see if the SC4 follows that suit. But Theo, they kept to the SC series because of they love the home button and the fingerprint sensor. They don't like the Face ID stuff. So it'll be interesting when their phone finally runs out of steam in a year or two. Will they be okay upgrading to something that has Face ID? I mean, I'm sure they will, but also it's a bigger phone. So I think it'll be interesting to see, what Apple does in terms of sizing, if they ever go back to a mini phone.
I feel like the SE took over what the mini was supposed to be in
many
essence.
ways.
But the fact that they're going bigger now than what the mini is, this is where it kind of the question basically comes up and says, like, so what is your small form factor phone now? If everything is in there. So is it just the standard iPhone, the 16 or the 15? Those are going to be your standard smaller sizes. I think for the price, I think it's hard to say no to it in a weird way, like especially from an iPhone user. If you're trying to get into the ecosystem, it's a great entry level device. It's running relatively recent hardware, software, and it just doesn't have the same stack on the back. But then again, it's an SE. It's not intended to be the full experience, and you can step up if you want to as your second upgrade or third upgrade. And I think Apple does a great job in setting the standard there. And again, the 9A series is purely an answer to what Apple was doing.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, this phone will have wireless charging. This one will have a metal frame and a glass back.
All those benefits.
This phone will be exquisite. Yes, I wish I'd just had a cheap 8 megapixel telephoto like that. That would have been really nice. Once the SE gets a telephoto, I hate to say this, but it'll be hard for me to recommend the regular iPhone, even if the regular iPhone gets 120 hertz display and all of that. Because look, iPhone's experience, very much like Pixel's experience, is built on the software. And if you get that software experience, you're done. And right now, the only gatekeeping they're doing is the cameras.
It's a hard, they're trying to keep it limited on hardware. But I mean, again, Pixel has the same conversation. Every time an A series comes out, the standard version of whatever the previous year becomes an almost moot point there, that like there's no reason to look at it.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's like you're not cannibalizing it, but I feel like
they still have a telephoto on their $500 phone, though.
No, absolutely, they do. And again, the compelling story is this is an SE, not a standard series. So we're talking in addition to their 17 series that are going to come out later in the year. We're looking at standard, XL, and then you get obviously the Pro Max, and the SE in the same year. So it's going to be people will definitely have a lot of good choices to be able to pick from, and they're not going to be disappointed because, as you said, Apple intends this to be available in everything.
Yeah,
which I think is Apple's main selling point, the AI function.
100%.
Everybody is.
Once it finally ships properly, it seems that it's very limited right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Pebble is back.
I know. I saw that.
So
I did not know.
I have a lot of feelings about that. No, just first of all, the newsy part, without any opinion, is
of course
Google open sourced the Pebble OS, which I think is actually a collaborative effort between Google and Eric Mujikowski, the founder of Pebble, my old boss and CEO of Pebble back in the day. And that's cool because that software wasn't going to go anywhere and Fitbit wasn't going to use it, or rather Google wasn't going to use
They
it.
bought it and they sat
So
on it. Yep.
they did that. That means anyone can now make a Pebble smartwatch with modern hardware. That is freaking brilliant. But what's also more interesting is that Eric Mujikowski, the guy I just talked about, he just announced that he's going to make a new Pebble watch that's very similar in specs and as the old one. Of course, modernized a little bit, probably thinner, lighter, probably has better, faster chip inside, and probably all the sensors for health and fitness, which they had a little bit of that at the very end of Pebble. But I think that's cool, and I wish him luck. I think he wants to keep it very low key, no VC funding. He's self-funding the whole thing, no crowdfunding. He wants to, have a very small team working on this, low volume, hacker friendly, which is all what Pebble was. And I think as a kind of fun side project, this is great. And I wish him, Eric, I wish you luck. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to trying it out. That being said, I'm really hoping someone else will take the OS because I think Pebble OS is brilliant. I know the team that worked on it. I know some of the software engineers went on to Meta and Google and other places and are absolutely some of the best people I've ever worked with. And I want that software to run on a super light, super thin, super long battery life OLED watch. Like, I don't care for this, e-ink display that Eric and his new project wants to maintain. I want a touchscreen and I want a OLED because to me, I can't read these displays. Now, maybe they'll go for a much higher res version and it'll look great, but maybe because 10 years have gone by and there's better e-ink displays now, or e-paper in this case, because this wasn't really e-ink. We'll see. But I want, since it's open source now, somebody out there create a watch that does all the things this does without any of the apps, but still lets you call your assistant by having Bluetooth connectivity, just like your car does. It doesn't display anything. It just talks by voice, responds by voice. And then have the sensors for health and fitness. All that's really important, right? But make it thin, make it light, make it round, make it OLED, make it run for 2 weeks on a charge. That I would, and notifications, because that's all I care about. That I would be all over in a heartbeat. That's just me. Your thoughts?
I big fan of Pebble and the ability of hacking and customizing the functionality out of it at the end. It was a sad day when we lost it. But
yeah,
I will say to a certain point, it's okay. So Pebble is very exciting for what it offered back in the day, but I'm worried about what Pebble was back then and what we've gone to now. We've moved on from their form factor, meaning the e-ink display, which again, not a lot of like metric as far as health and fitness. A lot of the things that we have now are very much either a smartwatch with a full functional OS or a fitness tracker with I would say tailored experience down to last you the 2 weeks. And I'm hoping Pebble comes in and is able to thread that needle between the two. And I'm hoping we get that experience.
Yeah, like what I call smart bands on steroids. Like Xiaomi, has a watch like that. The original OnePlus watch would be like that, right? It was a custom OS. It wasn't running Android Wear. It wasn't running, it wasn't have the capability of an Apple Watch. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to seeing. And maybe some of the Chinese manufacturers can jump in here and do something exciting
absolutely.
for us.
They've championed the experience entirely. And I think that's, when you were describing all the functions that you were talking about, I could imagine everything. The only thing that has always been my one thing, like when I pick up, let's say a fitness tracker, like a Xiaomi band and so on, is I wanted it to access my assistant. I want to be able to interact with my assistant. Like I think the last one that I saw from Redmi, they gave us access to be able to have Bluetooth functionality for phone calls. That's a new thing.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just a little bit more and still give us that OLED display, the beautiful display, but running on Pebble OS, which is a little bit more, I would say, optimized, better made for longer battery life. And I think that's the experience I want to see. But I don't think what Pebble used to be back then would exist and function in today's world.
But that's what Eric's doing. So if that's what you want, because if you still have a Pebble and it's falling apart and you want that experience, go for it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the beautiful part about it.
That's the beautiful part of open sourcing this. Now anybody can go nuts. Last thing I want to just mention quickly is DeepSeek, because it made the news. It's a big deal. As you know, I'm not an AI stan, but I am a believer that AI is important and will make our lives better. There'll be a lot of turmoil getting there, but I think it will.
Yes.
That's how I feel. However, I like disruption too. So I'm very excited to see that this open source, a lot of people are not talking about this. DeepSeek, you can look at the code. And as a former programmer, that means that you can see if there are any security issues.
You can even run it locally. That's the other thing. You can download it and run it entirely on device.
The good news here is that the Chinese company has come out with a new AI model that's very similar in performance and in capability as what OpenAI provides, but runs much more efficiently on much lesser hardware. I mean, still needs some oomph, but not like the kind of oomph that the existing models use. And it's disrupting the industry, and I think that's healthy. And again, if you've listened to me, and I can rant about this, I'm a big proponent of Chinese cars coming to North America somehow, because I believe we need this disruption, and Europe as well. And it looks like Europe, it's happening, and even Volkswagen is now thinking, because they're having to close plants, to keep those plants open and kind of become like a foundry, as it were, for the Chinese manufacturer, like TSMC does for MediaTek and Qualcomm. I think this is very smart. This is the future. I want this protectionism that unfortunately our new fascist regime is bringing to the table is not going to work for this country. We're going to be behind in tech if we keep up with that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm glad DeepSeek came around and just like messed everything up for a few people for a few days, because it
ruffled feathers. Absolutely. No, don't get me wrong. I think it's it's the competition that we want, and the fact that like when we start talking about the fact, like again, at the end of 2025 or at some point or another, AI is going to become a paid service. And I think we're starting to see the writing on the walls. Companies want to start making money off of AI, and we've had nothing but it's expensive. It's super expensive. You need the latest hardware. You need all of this stuff. And then DeepSeek walks in and is like, you know what? Not really. We could do it with much less. It's good. It's great. And I think if anything else, it just, like I said, opens up the door for other companies. I think if I'm not mistaken, there's also more models that are coming out of China as well that are trying to even compete with multimodal functionalities and it's still being open source.
Bring it on. Yeah. And bring it on. I want Huawei to come back, and I want the Chinese manufacturers to come with their cars. And look, let's not kid ourselves. Americans are still leaders in software. And we can maintain that lead. We just need competition, because when you light a fire under people's butts, that's how you get the tech to actually evolve and grow and get better. So that's kind of my take on this. Okay.
We saw what Meta did when Apple put out the Vision Pro.
Protectionism
Zuck went up there and
never
gave us
works.
Stuff.
Protectionism is never the solution. Open markets and global economies are the way to go.
Yes.
So I hope that our fascist regime gets some reason in their minds, especially the billionaires running the show behind the scenes, since they're directly, in this thing. Like they can't, you can't protect what you have by blocking. Like, this is stupid. Think about how you got
and also
where you
expect
are.
year-over-year gains and growth when you're not competing. You no longer you're sitting. You're just basically incrementally giving things, and people are going to see through this. This is not
You're not going to be able to stop the Chinese cars from coming. They're going to come through Mexico or something, and you can close the borders to that. And then what? Like, what if the American car makers start doing so poorly that they also farm out their factories to Chinese companies? And these Chinese companies already exist. Volvo, Polestar, Lotus, these are common brands. They're completely owned by the Chinese these days. You can buy them in the US. So I don't know, guys. It's a slippery slope, and we really need to stay away from it. So that's kind of my closing thoughts for this podcast. A little political, but you know me, I never stay away from that. And, with this mug, I think I tell everything right there.
I like it.
TK, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
I'm always simple enough. TK Bay on YouTube, just look me up there. And of course, TKDSL8655 on Instagram, Twitter, and X, and all the other socials. But as always, just look for the beard and let it guide you. You'll find me very easily.
I love that. It's so good. Folks, please subscribe to TK's YouTube channel. He also has one in Arabic if you want to subscribe to that as well, which is really cool. And then, of course, you know where to find me on the internet. I'm all over the place as Tankgirl, TNKGRL, just like the comic book character. Drop the vowels, you get my handle. I'm on that Twitter thing. I'm on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, everywhere. So please talk with me and TK there about this show. The podcast itself is at mobiletechpodcast.com. We're on all the major platforms, so please subscribe and tell your friends. And, if you can rate or review the show, that would be awesome. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. I've had a hands-on video there with a Samsung from last week, so check out the S25 series there. You know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment, all that good stuff. And then if you want to support me, there is the Patreon I mentioned earlier. There's a video version of the podcast you can get on Patreon for $5 a month. You get the video in advance. You get extra content sometimes, bloopers. You get to see stuff and like overhead cam from TK. Awesome stuff. So consider supporting me, helping me out. And it's patreon.com/Tankgirl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. And I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So as you know, I'm constantly reviewing multiple phones, and while that's fun, it also means I'm constantly spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. That's where Mint Mobile comes in, and that's who I'm partnering with for today's podcast. If you also want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. As tech-savvy early adopters, you've probably heard of Mint Mobile before, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around and waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM free of charge. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link mintmobile.com/mobiletech to get premium wireless starting for $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/mobiletech. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And I want to thank you, TK, for being my guest yet again. Fantastic show. Fantastic seeing your face. Thanks so much for being here.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. We'll have TK on in the future, folks, and we'll have another show next week. So stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.